Hello and welcome to the Isuzu A-League download. I forgot the Ute. How can you forget the Ute? You're an Australian, Matt. You've been here long enough to remember it. Ute. Everybody buy a Ute this instant. Thomas Sorensen is here, as always. It's nice of you to turn up.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Where have you been?
I don't know where I've been. To be
Well,
honest.
Queensland, apparently.
I spent some time with my boy, football finals.
Football final. That's what's happening, isn't it? I feel that was quite a vague answer. Have you been committing crimes, Archie? Is there anything you want to admit to, or do you want to just us to get on with it?
Yeah, just get on with it.
Hey, look, before we do Auckland's victory, Melbourne City's basically a through, aren't they, after beating West United 3-0? Oh, you never know. Let's, first of all, credit the Mariners women for winning the grand final at the weekend and, you know, to back up the men winning last year, but great achievement for them.
Yeah, great run as well. You know, after 2 years back, to win their first trophy, they overcame the two best teams in the league. First, Melbourne City in the semi-final, and then obviously took it right to the end with victory. So, you know what, they dispatched the penalties. So fair play to them. They did well.
And Isabel Gomez, I think she's been outstanding for Central Coast Mariners. Got the winner against Melbourne City in extra time, and then got an early goal against Melbourne Victory. But it was actually one of those matches that were you thought that Victory were going to get on top, and then City was just ebbed and flowed. And like you said, that penalty shootout. I'm really happy that. Central Coast women's got their first trophy. A little disappointed about Victory, especially Amy Park.
Hasn't been a great weekend.
No, it hasn't been. No, we're still in it. We're still in with a shout in Auckland. But well done to the girls.
All right, before we do the Auckland game, let's do Melbourne City hammering West United 3-0. Look, we talked about West United not really having home advantage, right? They played the whole home season at Iron Blocks, then they come here. There appear to be legitimate reasons for why they can't host this game, and Aloisi was very diplomatic afterwards. But you think when you've created something at home, right? You played for Stoke, right? That is a classic example. They were brilliant at home because it was so hard people didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
And this was like a home game for Melbourne City. And look, fair play to Melbourne City, they were great in this game.
Yeah, but it's, again, I'm just a bit sad because, for a while, Western United was still playing at Amy Park, but now they've finally got that home, and they've got a great record there. They played the elimination final against Adelaide and took advantage of it. And it just saddens me that, we can't have this in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you sort of strip it back, you think it's weird that home advantage can make such a big difference, Archie.
Yeah.
But it does, whether it's psychology, whether it's just the squad, you know where you're going, you know where the toilets are, you know where your seat is, all those little things. Yeah. People like home. Home is nice, right? You like your own house, don't you?
Well, we love our routine. And I think...
I know some people who won't go to the toilet unless they're in their own house.
I'll go anywhere.
Well, of course you will.
Doesn't worry.
That's a different YouTube show.
Look, I think their record is unbelievable in Tarnee at their home ground. And I was actually fortunate enough to be the first time I went out there in the elimination final against Adelaide was to go watch that match in Tarnee. And it is difficult. And you can see why they, like I've said, have a good record. Disappointing to go to Amy Park knowing the record that Melbourne City have there. And it's going to be a tough ask for them to come back 3-0.
Yeah, and who says it would have changed the result? We don't know. Right? But take nothing away from Melbourne City. I thought that form that they've had the last 10, 12 games, I think they took that into the finals. I thought they just showed they were the better team. They showed the individual quality. That Cohen goal was an absolute brilliant. And he didn't do much in the game, but he popped up at the right time.
Such a brilliant guy. And actually hasn't done that much. He's had a few injuries, hasn't he? But
he's come back.
He's missed actually 11 rounds. He's missed a lot of the season. But we had seen glimpses of that kind of quality.
Yeah.
And it is just a moment of pure brilliance.
Yeah, and again, it's the whole build-up. It sort of gets moved along, flicked out to him, and it sets up perfectly. But you still have to, finish the strike, and he does it brilliant. And it's just those moments. That first goal, the corner from Tilio, Matt Sutton gets bullied a little bit by Andreas Kuhn, and it's sort of borderline, but he doesn't do enough to foul him, and then he sort of gets caught, and then Ferreira, who. I had my doubts early in the season, but he has come on strong. Like he's been a big part of, Supren has been out injured, and he's just taken that role, and he's come up with a few goals here late in the season. Great header, and just set the games up. Melbourne City just took their chances.
Yeah, they were a lot more clinical in the box. I think with that first goal, Ferreira, great header, but when you really let a defender kind of run onto the ball without being sort of challenged, always going to be hard for an attacker to run onto it. For a defender to try to leap and get clear it when the one that's attacking the ball has the momentum. And
you've got to stop him when the ball's coming in, right?
And there was no one on him.
Yeah, like just shove him. I mean, I guess that's this kind of zonal versus man marking.
Yeah, and there was just nothing there. So I think that was disappointing probably from West United point of view. But then, when you don't have Noah Bodic starting and for whatever reason.
Such a blow that. Like, he's had a great season.
Massive blow. And there was 2 good chances that West United had that could have maybe changed it.
Grimaldi had the header.
Ruse with a one-on-one. Could have done a little bit better.
That's the second week. He had a similar one against Adelaide.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you go across goal.
Yeah.
And he sort of just...
He almost snatched at it.
To be fair, Beach stands up well. Like you do. Sometimes as a keeper, you can sort of start to gamble and you end up like going a little bit early. He stands up, but it's just one of them. Like just... Yeah, across goal, he scores.
But that's what we like about Michael Ruse is he's a battering ram, right?
Yeah,
so he's I'm just going in a straight line. He's got forwards and kick. There is 2 buttons. Goes, kick, straight down.
No, but he makes it himself. Like when he receives the ball, you think he's got no, because he's actually, in front of the back line. But then his power, he runs past everyone.
Yeah, I'm a big
just
fan.
to finish.
Yeah, and then Grimaldi with the header that it probably needs to be a little bit stronger in that. But like you said, it was a technique and the quality and clinical finishing in the box. Tilio with that beautiful little turn to receive the ball, go at the fences, and already the fences are shaking in their boots when they see him, and like that layoff and Cohen, what a strike that is. And then Lecky again. I mean, Tilio with a great lofted ball to the back post, doesn't get dealt with. Ball drops kindly, and then Lecky. I mean, he's someone that you want to be getting minutes, especially coming to finals. Bang, finish, and then, really, I don't think West United created too much after that. They're going to find it very, very hard. You get one early goal, might change the complexity of a game, but the way that Melbourne City defend, like you say, Ferreira, Truan has been great in that central partnership. So, I think they're probably one step into the final.
Yeah, and you look at it, I can't remember, but I think it's like 12 clean sheets or something in the season. They've got the best defensive record, so everything is against them. But as you said, you got to believe, you got to start strong, and hopefully, there was, at least rumours that Botic had a bit of a strain or something. Hopefully he'll be fit, and they just got to go all guns blazing, hope for an early goal, hopefully for some momentum, and then see where it goes. But it's going to be
1-0 at half time. Then you sort of,
no.
it's a lot.
Of course, we've all been there where you think, we're home dry, and then suddenly the ball starts, the snowball starts rolling down the hill, and then suddenly you're like, whoa, we can actually lose this. That's the great thing about the football, but it's still you still got to go out and do it, and it will be interesting.
Well, it's almost got to be like a Barcelona-Liverpool game. Wasn't it Barcelona 3-0 at New Camp? Then they went to Anfield, and then they scored 4 goals in what was probably one of the most amazing Champions League.
It was an amazing week. It's like, sometimes when you work in football there's just so much football, and you go, I can't watch another game. And then you have these moments. And that week, I think Man City needed a goal in the Premier League, and Vincent Kompany scored from 30 yards. Against I can't remember, it was Leicester or something late on to basically win the league. Then you had Liverpool coming back 3-0 against Barca with the Origi, the quick corner from Trent. And then the next night was Spurs in Amsterdam.
The
Lucas Moura and you just were like breathless by the end of it. But we need John Awelisi to channel some of that Liverpool Barca. It's hard. Of course, Istanbul, right? It's happened before. That was 45 minutes. So it is possible,
of course.
But it is possible, and actually what's interesting is when you think about the way Barca hammered Liverpool in that first leg, you're like, there's no chance. There was nothing you saw in that game that made you think, I can feel Western United doing something. Do you know what I mean? That's the tricky thing right now, is if you're part of that squad, because from the outside you're going, this game is just done. Is there where's the glint of light?
Any early goal changes the whole landscape of a match. So we can see.
You need a bit of luck, and you need the quality. You need some players to step up, and we'll talk about that. Same with Victory. This is you need the that little bit extra to overcome that 3-0. And they've got the players, and I've showed enough this season to warrant the confidence that it can be done. It's not like you're sitting there saying, they haven't got it.
Who did they put 4 past recently?
Auckland.
Yeah, okay, there you
So
go.
you know what? It's just, can they keep Melbourne City from scoring? I think that's maybe a question.
And when you talked about that week of Man City needing a goal, they needed 4 at Anfield. Well, Manchester United play Spurs this week. In the Europa final, so there could be something that could happen. It's the stars and the moons are starting to align for something special for West United. You never know.
Possible. That's quite a stretch.
Scotty Scheffler just won the PGA tournament.
I don't know how you tie.
How does that link? My kids slept through last night, so maybe Western United can do it.
I'm trying to give him hope.
Scotty Scheffler wins the US.
Hang on to right now.
So,
just want to talk about Marco Tilio because he did have a great game, and he's a wonderful player. We talk about people stepping up, and he really did.
No, he's been great. We talk about like a little bit. Some players for certain teams have made the difference, and it was tough for him. Like he had to swallow it, come back to Australia. He's had some injury worries, but now he's really finding some form. You can see that. He's shown what we expect, that he's probably too good for the A-League. His array of passes. He's so good on the ball in tight areas. He can score. He can set up things. Definitely Melbourne City have benefited massively from his great form.
Yeah.
What happened with him at Celtic?
No, he was injured, and it's a tough environment, and you don't get many chances. We've talked about it so many times, and we're going to talk about some young players leaving again, going overseas, and you gotta roll up your sleeves and fight through the hard times.
And actually, what you've achieved before counts for absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah, and you're coming over, maybe a little bit disrespect. You're Australian, nobody knows you, so you got to make a name for yourself. And again, people are quick to judge, so you got to hit the ground running.
Let's go to the other semi-final. Auckland beating Melbourne, victory 1-0. So they're in the box C. I actually want to start with that moment in injury time, right? Moreno's shot hit both posts. I must have watched that 1,000 times.
Yes.
I can't work. He's wheeling off celebrating. And you just think, I just wonder if you're Melbourne Victory, you come off the pitch and you're disappointed, obviously you've lost, and you know how good Auckland are and they always get the job done. But you just go, hang on, this could be, we're talking about West United needing ridiculous moments.
Yes.
You could just go, that is a moment. That is a moment in this game where you go, we could be out here.
Yeah.
Somehow that ball stays out.
Mate, it's huge. It's huge. Because I think the way that Auckland were playing, it took a little bit for them to get into the game with the way that Melbourne Victory started. But moments like that, I thought 2-0 going to Auckland, that mountain is huge to climb. I don't think there's too much hope, just the way that Auckland set up. They're so solid. I mean, the way they defend their box, we had a bit of joy nice and early when we isolated Daniel Azani or Nishan Valupale one-on-one, and then they can try and do something. But as soon as they grappled that back, they're just incredible. Like the strength they show, their discipline, their intensity on the ball. When they don't have the ball is unbelievable. And when they scored, it's almost like they went up another level. Like really, sometimes when you go down, it might be easy to relax, and then suddenly the opposition gets back into the game very quickly. They don't let that happen. They suffocate them very quickly. Verstrada in the middle of the park was just a beast. Like
him and
absolute
Peinecker, I thought,
man.
that first 20 minutes you talked about, where Victory were playing around the box, and we said Asani, they were really getting in some dangerous areas, but just the desire to, there was a sequence where I think Victory had 3 shots in 10 seconds, and it was block, and just throwing their bodies, being in the right positions, not panicking. I think they were absolutely brilliant, and they showed why they've been so good. They fought their way into the game. They had a few counterattacks and a few scary moments, but other than that, it was sort of just a gradual, they frustrated Victory, and eventually they got into their heads. You could see, maybe they were sort of stepping over, like Valupale, and Mashash was throwing his arms, and they got into Asani as well. They sort of neutralized them as the game wore on. They didn't have an impact, and and then obviously just finished it off, with a goal. So it was just a clinical, tactical, and I think Victory, they need to start eating their Weetabix because again, like,
do you know, interestingly,
because they need to really come out and be better on a lot of parameters when they get over. They need to be sharper. They need to finish their chances. Their big players need to step up in Auckland because it's going to be 28,000 people against them. It's not going to be easy.
I'm pleased you said Weetabix because
I don't know what Weetabix is.
Well, there you go.
It's a UK thing. I think.
Well, no. Somehow on the way to Australia, they lost a vowel. It's just Weet-Bix.
Weet-Bix.
They just
Our slang, we try to
when
shorten
I see
everything.
you're trying to shorten everything. Yeah, exactly. We can save time by getting rid of the A in Weetabix. But I'm glad you said. But it is I'm on a Weet-Bix journey because midlife crisis. It's a healthy start to the
But
day.
how good is Weetabix?
Oh, really nice. Yeah. Are you advertising? Just imagine him turn the camera going, that's right, full of healthy vitamins and fibre, Weet-Bix. Buy yours at your local supermarket now. I'm Archie Thompson. You're absolutely right. It was interesting. Obviously, Victory had no shots on target, which is not enough shots on target in a football match. Arzani afterwards, the post-match was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, he talks about the goal and he says, the goal comes from nothing, a nothing ball from the sideline. He admits that he's the one that should stop the ball coming in, right?
Yeah.
Because it's De Vries, isn't it? And you sort of think, obviously, De Vries is a big unit compared to Arzani.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't, just step off him. You're so much quicker than him. You just don't need to that ball doesn't need to go in. And, Arzani's obviously not a right back, right? Is he? That's not where he wants to be on a football pitch.
No, but you end up in a situation.
Well, of
you have
course.
to do your job.
Yeah.
And first he sort of gets shoved off.
Yeah.
And then he, for some reason, instead of, as you said, maybe just dropping in and
Just give him a meter. There's no way.
He sort of anticipates. He sort of steps the wrong direction. And then obviously De Vries delivers. And then, I don't know, Casey Boss just gets caught flat-footed a little bit, waiting. And Rogerson, he's done so many times, just pops up. It's a defining moment. And I think it just shows that, they just really wanted Auckland.
Yeah.
They're really playing with that tenacity. And in those moments that decide games, they seem to just come out on top. They just run that extra yards. They make that extra tackle or whatever it takes.
It's funny at that level. Carry on.
Yeah, I was saying about Arzani. He said it was a nothing ball.
Yeah.
But it was actually a really good ball.
Yeah, it was
De Vries actually plays unbelievable balls into that box. His delivery is insane. He doesn't even have to look half the time. It's just muscle memory. But it was in a position where the keeper couldn't. I don't think really go.
No, he can't.
He can't go and get it. They lose the flight of the ball. Maybe Casey Boss, and then he's like, okay, are they going to get it? Rogerson slips in, and so for me, it wasn't a nothing ball.
It was a something ball.
It was a something ball. It was a
I
perfect
just wouldn't draw attention to the ball at all
Yeah,
if I was the one that
saying.
had let the guy put the ball in.
I was like, it's 1-0. We'll go back. That's how it should have.
He also said Auckland were one-dimensional, and I sort of agree with him. It's just a really good dimension. Do you know what I mean? They are really solid. They get the job done. They are, they're just really efficient.
Yeah.
They won't go down in history as one of the most flamboyant football teams in the world.
Yeah.
I sort of understand if you're Arzani, right, you're this technical, gifted player going, football's all about, give me the ball up here and do this. And then Auckland just go, no, we'll just be really solid.
Yeah,
See you later.
Isn't it a Mourinho that kind of plays that sort of style? Just sit in and try to.
Conte, Mourinho, those kind of. are we doing Auckland a disservice? They've obviously got technically excellent footballers, but they are super efficient and solid.
Yes.
Yeah, but they've got really good players. Like Guillermo May, I think, brilliant up front.
Yeah.
And the way he holds the ball up. And you got Jesse Randall, who's, I would say he's a one-dimensional player in some way, really quick, works hard. Probably he had a couple of sort of half chances, probably lacked the finishing product, but again, he sort of amplifies of what they're about, hard work, committed, does everything for the team, and I wouldn't call it one-dimensional because they've got individual brilliance in there, and Sakai bombing on. As I said, you mentioned Vestrade. I thought, we talk so much about Ryan Teague, but there was only one general on that central midfield, and that was him. He was doing the dirty work, but he was also, spraying the balls around, getting up near the box, had a couple of shots. I thought he was probably, from my point of view, the man of the match. And again, Victory didn't hit the target. They had that Valadon. Great strike from distance, just dips wide. But other than that, they hardly had anything. And that's
And the manager's smart too. I mean, he just plays to the strength of what he believes his team are at. Like, I'll use the speed of our wide players and Jumame to hold the ball up and get players in behind, and then I'm solid in defence. I mean, it's tactically working. They won a minor premiership. They're a good chance of making a grand final.
Yeah,
so,
they're the best team.
Yeah.
They are the best team. It's interesting you said, you felt they wanted it more, right?
Yeah.
Because on Sunday league pitches, and everyone who plays will know that, there is always a team that wants it more, and they quite often win. They go, they don't want it. And you go, that's the worst thing you can hear when they're just better than you. I really do want it. I'm just old and slow and my knees don't work. But you sort of think at the elite level, everybody wants it, right? It's not like you go, actually, I did actually have 3 glasses of wine last night, and I shouldn't have done, but the mood took me, and I had and then I had a falafel wrap for breakfast, and now I've got a game. But that doesn't. But at the elite level, you sort of think no team can want it more. It's like when they say, this team is fitter than that team, and you sort of think surely they should all be fit, right? Like these things seem really obvious, sort of baseline. No team should want it more than another one. But the psychology is there.
It's that great speech and like any given Sunday about all the inches are around. You just gotta find them and take them and. You know what? It's minor things, and also as a collective. Sometimes you can as a team you can have players, but then other players are just like maybe not doing it 100%, or they might not be tracking back every time, and sometimes like we talked about, like it's win and lost in moments sometimes, and you can talk about that Asani. He's not a defender, but in that moment you got to stop that cross and. It doesn't.
He's just looking at it going, that's a nothing ball. I think it might have mattered.
No, but
damn it.
Again,
nothing ball, lads, don't worry.
It's I'm sure if probably if you turned it around and Tilio was there, he might have stopped it. And, what do you put it down to?
Yeah.
It's if you could all put it in a bottle and hand it over and say, like, drink this and you'll be great. Yeah. It's just something that you sometimes have and sometimes you don't.
And it is psychology, right? Like if you're an opposition and you've got like maybe the wool over the eyes of the team you're playing against, you want to say those sort of things to put them off. And then, maybe with Daniel Azani and his comments on the goal, that's the psychological part of that too, saying, well, maybe if I say this, it means like it won't matter and we're positive and we're still going to go there and do well. So all these little, as much as, football is being played too, you want to be getting into your opponent's head in some ways too.
Yeah, but it's definitely not over. Like,
no way.
No way.
Auckland have only lost once at home. That was that 4-0 to Western United in December. So
victory again. They have the quality.
Yeah.
So they should still believe that this is possible, but they need to be better than they were. They need to be ready to fight. They need to be ready with 28,000 screaming fans roaring Auckland on, so they'll have the energy and they need to match that. Otherwise, I don't think they have a chance.
And also too, I think
some injuries
Brendan
to victory.
Brendan Hamill. I heard
Miranda, Casey
Boss. Casey Boss was walking out apparently with a moon boot on crutches after the game. So
apparently Langerak was in a moon boot as well earlier. So
that
was one of our good researchers.
Yeah. All the kids working on the show, they're all in moon boots. That's what the kids are wearing now. If you go on TikTok, it's just moon boot.
Is that those red ones?
Yeah,
big red
who knows?
boots?
I think so. I'm going to be waddling out in a pair later. Why not? But that is because you want to be at full strength. They've all come at full strength.
Of course.
But we need them to, right? Because, you want these... You want the second legs to be real. We want West United to score early to make that game interesting. It'd be great if Victor could score the first goal.
Yeah, for sure.
And silence that crowd. Then it'd be really interesting. Auckland haven't really suffered yet this season.
No.
I don't want them to suffer.
Well, I want to see...
Me as a Spurs fan, I've suffered for years. So these Auckland fans, they need...
I'm a Cambridge fan. Tottenham on my big team who win things. Mate, this is suffering. I've had 45 defeats this season, right?
You just want everyone to suffer.
No, but you want to see sort of what they've proved that they're made of real stern stuff. There's no doubt about this. But very rarely this season have they been really up against it.
Yeah, no,
and that's credit to them.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see them be up against it to see if they can deliver.
Yeah, but like we talked about last week, after 2 weeks of being off and that sort of negative finish to the season, can they show up at victory and actually, there was, absolutely no question.
Yeah.
They were ready for the moment. So I'm sure they'll be ready, and it's just about victory. They just got to step it up all around and obviously need a really good performance to make it a really good game.
No shots on target in this game.
Yeah.
They haven't scored against Auckland then in 3 games this season.
Yeah.
These are the things I should pin on the dressing room wall to make them feel good. Lads, we've not scored against these guys once in 270 minutes.
I'll be yelling out Auckland as an Auckland player. They don't know how to score against us.
Yeah. They do.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is an Auckland-Melbourne City final, does that feel good? That's sort of what we look like we're going to get. Does that feel like a good final?
It definitely does, like, because that will be in Auckland. You know, I was fortunate to just talk to some of the Auckland.
You're going to be a bit torn there, aren't you? Like you've been. I know you've been floating in and out.
You have been flirting with Auckland all season.
You know, it's the CEO is a former Melbourne City employee who's a good friend of mine. So you know what? I think it's great what they've done, and if the final is going to be in Auckland, you know, I think they're going to have 28,000 for the semi-final, and if they get to the grand final, they're going to extend it with another 2,000. So it could be up to 30,000 there. So that's the environment you want for an A-League final.
All right, well, look, good luck in those second legs, everybody. Australia Cup playoff results then played out in Darwin, which I guess is good, right? You know, we're talking about home advantage and all these kind of things, but good to take this level of football to a part of Australia that doesn't get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And when you look at the matches, Perth did well.
Yeah, 2-0 down to Central Coast.
Yes. And then
1-3-2.
Yeah. And then, you know, Wellington beat Brisbane. I think very lucky to escape with a win there. But, you know, they're playing Australian Cup football. It makes their pre-seasons a little bit shorter, and that they've got competitive games to play. And possibly win something and go to the maybe the Elite Champions League, which everyone wants.
Yeah, and I think specifically for Brisbane, you know, you got a new manager, Valkanis. They should have won. You know, they missed that penalty. Abubakar hits the bar like last minute. You know, so and potentially I think Wellington were a little bit lucky with that first goal. I think it's Luke Brooks-Smith who sort of maybe gets a push in the back of the defender. So. But again, they didn't take their chances, and I think Oloviemi made a couple of good saves in the game to keep Wellington in it. So, you know what? It's going to be a long 3 months for Valkanis, I think.
Let's talk about Ufuk Talay, who's got a new 1-year deal at Sydney. Apparently it was going to be a 2-year deal, and then they were like, it wasn't this good this year, so we just give you 1.
But, you know, if you're a manager, like, you just want to, you know, because I'm sure maybe in his mind, you know, you worry after the season. There's big pressure at Sydney. You expected, you know, to at least make finals. They had a decent run in the Asian Champions League, but you know, he's probably worried. Like, okay, maybe I'm on the borderline. So to get another year, I think you have to be happy. You know, you can't expect a 5-year deal.
No, but the trouble with 1 year, I remember this from, like, you know, when you're doing TV shows, you get a 2-year deal. You have 1 year where you're like, oh, this is good. And then, like, as soon as the next one starts, you're like, oh god, was that good today? Was that show any good? Did I do okay? And like, so, and when you've got the pressure, you're not as good. Yeah. Right. And obviously, you know, if he's constant, obviously I understand, like, you can't give this guy a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
I do think that you think next year. Obviously, it's so hard to gauge, Archie, because of the churn of the playing squads. So you don't know who's going to be there. But there's some lovely players there if you can keep hold of them.
Well, 100%. And there's probably a bit of divide for Sydney FC fans on maybe him even getting 1 year because of, you know, how when you look at their squad and the players that they've got not making finals. I mean, that's unbelievable. Whether the Asian Champions League Elite competition maybe hampered that too. Also losing 2 of your strongest defenders and making good money for that might have hampered their performance too. But yeah, I think very lucky to get it 1 year. And you're right though. I know with contract, I think we've all been in those contract positions where.
As a player, is it the same? When you're a player? In your final year, you were like... Yeah. And I think for large periods of my career at the back end, it was always just 1 year. And it's scary. You don't know what's going to happen, your livelihood. And so maybe that pressure might bring the best out of players. Yeah, it can work both ways, I guess.
Right? Yeah, it can. It works the best or it might go the other way. But it's about retaining some of the quality players that they
Yeah,
have.
because that's the interesting part. Because if what's going to happen with Sekitic? I think Alex Grant is out.
Klimala's loans ended.
Yeah, Klimala. Joe Lolly is rumored to Perth. Apparently. So there's definitely Redmayne. I know he hasn't played fully.
Why would you go if you're Joe Lolly? Why would you do that?
I think
There's a direct flight to London, but
maybe. Like again, who knows? There's been a few players rumored to Perth. A few of the I think Wellington players, Wooten and Sam Sutton. So they might be like putting on a charge there, and you know what? Sometimes. I know Fornaroli, he left, Melbourne City, he went to Perth, and now he's back at Victory. So that's the A-League. Who knows? He might not have been offered the same deal. So he might say, okay, I can get a better deal at Perth, and that's how it works. So be interesting to see what Alexander Baumjohann, it's a big job that he's got. He's obviously made the decision along with the hierarchy that, he's there as a football director to keep the manager, and now with players, he's got to, obviously rebuild the squad because they're losing a fair. As you said, Hayden Matthews went early in the season, so they definitely at the back got some issues, and then who knows who else stays.
Milanovic to Aberdeen from Wanderers, $500,000.
Yeah, no, I think Ben Fade had a big play in the way that unfolded, and I think Western Sydney made some money on it. It's a great step for him because he met the manager or spoke to the manager, their idea of what they want to do. They actually just missed out on Europa football over the weekend. They lost to Dundee United, who clawed into that United Europa spot. I think we've got Ryan Strain there. You know how I caught that? I saw that on socials. I saw that on Instagram.
Oh, well done.
So, you can get...
Same points, Dundee United and Aberdeen. Yeah. The Aberdeen lost the last game of the season, didn't they?
Yeah,
Dundee
and
United.
they played each other.
Oh,
they played each other,
That's a killer, isn't it? Goal difference.
Yeah, goal difference. So, I mean, probably there was maybe a talk of him going to Aberdeen and they might be playing Europa football. But we've seen so many times younger guys going over to Scotland, and I don't know if players have really gone on from there. But my understanding is it's a great setup, and he'll get better.
No, but I think when I was growing up in Denmark, a lot of the young players went to Holland. Like you sort of looking at Scotland as well as a bit of a sort of a league that's sort of a stepping stone too. So if you can go,
Scottish viewers will be delighted with that.
No, but it's not the Premier League. So
there's a pecking order, right? I get it.
Who knows if you go and really does well for Aberdeen, you might get a chance like Celtic might pick you up or Rangers, and then suddenly you've got an opportunity to, and you can be noticed in Europe, and you can. So I think it's a good move for him. There was I don't know, with Botic there was rumours of St. Pauli in the Bundesliga. There's obviously a couple of Aussies there. I think that's tougher because there you're going in. They're
great club, St. Pauli.
It's a great club, but also you're going into a really tough league, and. Is he the finished product? He's had a great season. So I feel that's a much tougher environment than actually going to Aberdeen. So of those two moves, I think Milanovic, it's definitely it's definitely a really positive from a football perspective. Where the other one it's more development. It'll be interesting to see if that happens, how it goes.
And he I think he's just got a call up to the Socceroo squad that they've got at the moment. So I know that they'll probably dwindle it down for those qualifying games. But for, I guess, Milanovic is in the Socceroos now. Is an opportunity for him to stake a claim. And also, too, it's a stepping stone. You get into that European environment and then it's a sink and swim kind of vibe. So you're only going to get better.
Did you sink or swim?
I paddled there for about 4 years. And then I saw an opportunity to go back and I'll jump on that boat.
Down and then off for breath and then down.
Hey, look, I had a nice time, chaps. If you like A-League content, if you can't get enough of it, Total A-Leagues with Vince Rugari and Tommy Orr, the warm-up with Daniel Georgievski and the wild man of Australian football broadcasting, Nick Stoll. But for the time being, thank you, Thomas Sorensen.
It's been brilliant. Let's can't wait for the finals. These next two games.
Yeah. Thank you, Archie.
Thank you.
See you next week. Cheers.